5G network. The U.S. campaign seeks to have allies around the world dump the supplier for security reasons. Europe has become the focal point of that campaign, and in particular, Germany.
In the high-tech city of Shenzhen, where Huawei is headquartered, 5G is already a reality. Chinese state television runs footage of transmission masts under construction. Huawei has become the world's largest network gear supplier and was planning to supply its kit for 5G networks around the world. But the US has banned its companies from doing business with Huawei, much to the annoyance of officials in Beijing. What the US has done shows clearly that the market economy and fair competition principle it claims to champion is nothing but a fig leaf. This practice violates the rules of international trade, disrupts global supply chains, and will inevitably damage America's national interests and image. Washington is calling on the world to make a decision against China. Last week, US Secretary of State Mike Pompeo toured Europe and called for Huawei to be banned from 5G networks because of espionage fears. Europe is divided on how to approach Huawei. Some countries are lining up with the US and restricting Huawei or not using its 5G technology at all. Others are using Huawei's 5G gear. And others are still undecided. The Eurozone's biggest economy, Germany, has so far avoided the decision. It feels caught in the middle, but the USA and China are important trading partners. Berlin doesn't want to ruffle anyone's feathers.
And for more on this, I'm joined by Isabel Skierka. She's a cybersecurity and digital policy researcher at ESMT Berlin. Isabel, thanks for joining us. Should Europe be concerned about Huawei as a network supplier? What do you think?
I think Europe should think about dependencies in the long term, and in that sense, yes, it should be concerned about who it chooses to equip 5G networks strategically, because those networks are critical infrastructures for the next 20 years and will determine the fate of our future industry. Moreover, there are European suppliers who would be available as well, so we might rather be dependent on European suppliers than Chinese ones. There are also some security risks about Huawei, which are not completely confirmed, but the laws in China allow the Chinese government to take influence over Chinese companies, and security agencies can force it potentially to cooperate on espionage or sabotage.
All right, so some good technical points about using Huawei as a supplier. Is that technical discussion now being dwarfed by a larger political discussion and this tug-of-war between the US and China?
Yes, it's a very political discussion. It's also a geopolitical discussion. China and the US are basically fighting over dominance, geopolitical dominance in the world. The US initiative is certainly also an initiative to preserve its first position in the global game, so to say. So Europe, now caught in between, really needs to find its own position geopolitically as well as industrially.
And the focus is really falling on Germany. Can Berlin really afford to sit on the fence on this issue for much longer?
No, Berlin can absolutely not afford to sit on the fence. It has to take a decision. It needs to act together with its European allies and partners, because a sole national decision will not have as much weight as a European position. This is why the European Union has already initiated a strategic process last year that Germany is part of. And so in that sense, Germany now needs to not only make a technical decision about technical security of networks, but also position itself within this larger geopolitical debate on the basis of its values.
All right, we'll have to leave it there for now. Isabel Skierka with ESMT Berlin, thank you very much for your analysis.
Thank you.
I came to Ghana for the first time. I was like, whoa, this is nothing like they told us. If I'm honest with myself, I wasn't living in America, I was doing in America. I could hardly breathe, but I can breathe in Ghana.
A retired American teacher who had lived in Memphis all her life never thought she would leave. But in the summer of 2017, she experienced what she calls a wake-up call.
I was 57 at the time, and I was stopped by the police, 6 cars. They said my car was stolen, and they put me in cuffs. And I was like, this is saying that it's time for me to go.
2 months later, she decided to leave the U.S. for good. She moved to Ghana. Her daughter, who had married a man from Accra, picked her up from the airport.
I just fell on the ground and said, I made it. I just fell on the ground. I said, I made it.
G is one of a growing number of African Americans returning to their motherland. Whether visiting or moving permanently, many come here to take castle on Ghana's coast. This is where their enslaved ancestors were forcibly held. From here, they were taken to America through a door known as the point of no return. Ghana designated 2019 as the year of return, a campaign for African Americans to move here, selling a new home and new hope to those seeking a different life. And when George Floyd was killed by police in Minneapolis, the tourism minister promised something she believes the U.S. would not: freedom from racial abuse.
Come home, build a life in Ghana. You do not have to stay where you are not wanted forever. You have a choice, and Africa is waiting for you.
Californian-born Voltaire was one of those who answered the call. He founded a company and moved to Ghana last year. He wants to focus on the future.
I was born 1 year ago in Ghana.